Hey guys, my name is Hash Walid, and this is the social issue I chose to talk about propaganda. Um, I enjoyed the topic when we talked about it in class, to be honest, so that's kind of the reason why I talked about it. Here's my thesis: propaganda is not the truth, it can be used to persuade both sides. Instead, it is information aimed to influence the audiences, not to inform them, and that's a huge point. Therefore, it's influencing the unaware, the uneducated audiences, causing them to take a side and not allowing them to form their own thought or opinion on any given matter or a given matter. So, before I dive into all the details of propaganda, it is important to define it first. So, Encyclopedia Britannica defines propaganda simply as manipulation of information to influence the public opinion. And I kind of touched upon that in my thesis, but it is basically everything that is changing your mind in any certain way on any certain thing. There are many types of propaganda, and according to a Stanford University study, propaganda is everywhere and has been around for a long time. Every newspaper, magazine, news channel, radio station, advertisement, or any other types of mass media contains elements of propaganda. Mass media in general, and here's some example of mass media. Advertisements are a huge part of propaganda. It's only getting better, and that's the crazy part. There's what we have now is called targeted advertisement, where every person on their phone and their TVs or their streaming services see different ads from other people, and it is very targeted, and it uses like your own information to give you ads that are relatable to you, which is kind of crazy. The news, there's all kinds of news channels. People get their sources from the news, their information and news from the news basically, and there's all kinds of them. There is the conservative news, there's the libertarian news, and but there's only one truth. So that's the thing about propaganda is you have to listen without having from somebody that doesn't have a biased view, basically. TV shows is another huge thing. I talked to in my discussion board about one of the new shows on Netflix called Felda. It is a show that talks about. It just shows it's basically a life of a like an agent in Israel, and it just shows how Palestinians are like not good people and savages and stuff like that, which is not true. It is propaganda. But over the time and over the years, that image gets imprinted into people's minds, and it becomes, in a way, their biased, unconscious opinion, basically. Government officials, anything a government official says is honestly propaganda. It's either to help them get re-elected next year or next campaign, or help them with their polls, and we see that every day, basically, nowadays. Social media has the craziest algorithms ever. Honestly, it is everything that you see and that pops up, it is related to you, and it has been designed to fit your beliefs and your interests, and that is what propaganda is about. And now I want to talk kind of about influencers on social media. So propaganda is, like I said, it's everywhere. So the influencers on social media have already been influenced by propaganda, and therefore all their followers basically are influenced by the influencer, now taking their word as, hey, if he's saying that, that must mean it's true, and taking them and making them their expert just because they agree on a certain topic. Some of the uses of propaganda, like I mentioned in the definition of propaganda, it is used to influence people's opinion, to change their position, their side, their views, their opinion on any certain matter. It influences people to buy things, and that's what advertisements are about. It is meant to sell you something, and that is what propaganda is. It's selling you the image, the idea, the product, whatever is given. It is used for political uses, and like I mentioned, political people, whatever, they use it, propaganda, to achieve their campaign goal, and they use it all the time since the beginning of history, basically. It is used to spread fake news. It is used to control the masses. and many, many more examples. Basically, anything that is changing your mind, that is something that has to do with propaganda. There's many techniques that they use to get that point across or to sell you that specific idea. So let's talk about their techniques. What do they do? What do they use to get their points across? So according to a study done by the University of Vermont, there's about 22 different propaganda techniques. 22 ways they can get their point across and sell you their thought and their idea. I can't just mention all 22, but the list talks about all of them and gives example. But I filtered it, and this is the most common ones that I see everywhere and in my day, throughout the day, every single day, to be honest. To name a few, name calling, aka stereotyping. You see, for example, the president name calling Mexicans as drug dealers or Muslims as terrorists. It's just a way and a technique that propaganda. It's a way of propaganda to get the people that to buy into his thought, therefore agree with his opinions. Virtue words. That's another one that people don't think about, but looking at, for example, shampoos where it says natural whatever, or like Nesquik where it tells you it's organic cocoa. It's just a way to bring people in and buy their product. It is just propaganda. Testimonial is another huge one where they put a celebrity, like for example Lady Gaga, talking about like glasses or something. Like, I like some of the Lady Gaga songs, but she does not know anything about glasses. But just because she's a celebrity and a big figure, she does have a huge influence. Therefore, it is a huge technique that is used by propaganda. Plain folks, and this is generalizing everybody by saying, for example, most Americans, or the power by people, or any way to put everybody on a plane, making you feel like you are part of everybody, and this is what everybody's doing, therefore it must be the best way or the right way. And that kind of connects to the next one, is bandwagon. And it is like, bandwagon is basically like when they tell you, like, hey, don't miss out, be the first on the block, or something like this, kind of to just don't miss out, everybody's doing it, even though nobody might be doing it. It is just a technique used by propaganda. Another big one that we see all the time is diversion. Diversion is a huge, huge one. We always have news. News are always happening throughout the world, but they're not always good news. But sometimes, for example, biased news stations don't want to cover a certain news, so they divert the attention, focusing on a different, for example, topic or a different problem, diverting the attention from the more important one just because it doesn't agree with their beliefs. Propaganda has many, many effects in our life. And media, just social media and media in general, has many effects on us, according to the University of Minnesota. One that I found very interesting talks about the social role that it plays. Where, for example, a parent, where they send their kids to school, first of all, kids do everything that their parents do. They just copy what their parents do. So if their parents were already influenced by a certain topic or a certain propaganda, the kids are influenced the same way. They're basically, propaganda is moving through generation, and that's a huge thing. We're basically like playing a role. When we tell the kid, go to school, this is what you have to do, we're telling them to act a role instead of doing them, for example, instead of forming their own opinion. And that's something implanted in us from a long time ago. That's the problem. Now, one of the TED Talk I saw that talked in our class that I really enjoyed, it's by Slavko Martinov. Really, really nice speech, but I just love the way he ended the speech with, and he ended it with, you know who controls propaganda? Took a dramatic pause and said, you. Now that hit me really nice, because it is really, that is the truth. It is our choice whether to be influenced or not. It is our choice to be educated about the topic, that is about the information being thrown at us, and making sure the information is correct and the source is not a biased source or trying to sell us their thought. So what is the solution to all of this? Well, this example kind of make you think about a solution by itself. If I told you ice is not cold and it's just an illusion in your mind, would you believe me? If your answer is no, and I provided you with false data and numbers and kept repeating it to you, kept repeating that information over and over to you, to most people, it actually becomes the truth to them as well. The problem with this is the false information is not the problem. The fake thing is not the problem. The problem is how many people would believe that information. That is the problem. And I believe education is the best weapon to fight any problem. And in the source in Next Generation, it talks about a lot of the ways that we could fight propaganda. But basically, if audiences can do their part before taking any type of information in and forming their opinion, just do your research first. Check your sources. Make sure you're not listening to a biased source. But this is not what my topic is about. There's a lot of way to fight propaganda, but basically doing that, being aware that propaganda is there, makes propaganda useless. Thank you guys so much. Have a good day.